So just a reminder, don't forget that quiz 6 is sitting out there from yesterday, so make sure you get that completed and get those submitted. Those of you in Rice Lake can bring them into class on Monday if you need to. We started talking yesterday about units of measurement and how where they came from, basically the history behind where our standard units came from, mostly parts of the body and other things that were on hand at the time, and how clumsy it was. And today we kind of want to take that next step in doing operations with those measurements and looking at how clumsy they really can be. So we might have in our standard system, we'll just say standard length for now, because we have those awkward conversions, 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, or whatever, it is common to do what's called a dual or multi-unit measurement. So we might have something listed as 3 feet, skip the abbreviations, 3 feet and 8 inches. Because the conversions are so awkward, if I wanted to list that all as feet, that would be 3.66666666 feet. Eventually, of course, we'd have to round it off to a 7 for feet. It has to be rounded off, or it's an ugly decimal. If I wanted to convert it all into inches, well, I'd start with my 3 feet 8 inches, and I would do 3 times 12, gives me 36. I would add the 8 to it, gives me 44 inches. Well, one thing that's typical is we don't like to work with really large numbers. We prefer to work with smaller numbers and with the largest unit that we can use so that we have those smaller numbers. So we prefer to work with feet rather than all inches because of the large numbers that the inches give. But because of this ugly decimal that's given when we go with the feet, we end up going with, as we said, this dual unit system comes into effect, 3 foot 8 inches. Because of that dual unit system, our calculations with our measurements in the standard system become a little bit more complex. So we might have something like 5 feet 6 inches plus 3 feet 5 inches. Now, just like any other calculation, we are going to start on the right and work our way back to the left when we add here. The units become just like our place values. This is the inch place value. This is the foot place value. So we line them up and we only combine things with the same name or the same units. 6 inches plus 5 inches is 11 inches. Now you might pause for a second there, but you realize we don't need to carry because that's not quite a foot. It has to be 12 inches or more before we have a foot. So we can leave that as 11 inches. 5 feet and 3 feet make 8 feet. So that result is 8 feet 11 inches. Now, of course, it doesn't stay that simple. We have 5 feet 9 inches plus 4 feet 7 inches. Again, we start on the right, we work our way back to the left. 9 inches and 7 inches make 16 inches. Now, this is larger than a foot. 12 inches makes a foot. If I take out those 12 inches, I'm left with 4 inches. That's 1 foot. So I keep the 4 inches, and I'm going to carry that 1 foot. Now I have 1 and 7 makes 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. That's 12 feet 4 inches. Have you want to try one of your notes quick, and I'll give you half a minute or so to work on it here. Let's go 3 feet 11 inches plus 2 feet 10 inches. Go over that in just a half a minute or so here. So, starting from the right, working our way back to the left, 11 inches and 10 inches is 21 inches. That is more than a foot, so we'll take away the 12 inches, leaving us with 9 inches there. We're going to carry that 1 foot. 1 and 3 makes 4, plus 2 is 6 feet, so that's 6 feet 9 inches. Well, those aren't the only units of length we can work with. We might have 5 yards and 2 feet, plus 3 yards and 2 feet. We need 2 feet plus 2 feet is 4 feet. Well, that's bigger than a yard. Take out those 3 feet to make a yard. I'm left with 1 foot here, and I will carry that 1 yard. 1 and 5 is 6, plus 3 is 9 yards, giving us 9 yards, 1 foot. We had other units that we were less familiar with. We might have 7 rods and 4 yards, plus 4 rods and 5 yards. We add again, 4 and 5 make 9 yards. Now, if you recall, 1 rod was 5.5 yards. So I'm going to subtract 5.5. These are 3.5 yards. I'll carry my 1 rod. 1 and 7 is 8, plus 4 is 12 rods. Giving us 12 rods, 3.5 yards. We can have 3 units in here. We have 5 yards, 2 feet, 9 inches, plus 3 yards, 2 feet, 7 inches. This is just like having a 3-digit number. We're going to start on the right, work our way back to the left again. 9 and 7 make 16 inches. Well, that is bigger than a foot. So I'm going to take away my 12 inches. Leaves me with 4 inches. That 12 inches was 1 foot, so I'm going to carry my 1 foot. 1 and 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5 feet. That is more than a foot. Or more than a yard, I should say. There's 3 feet in a yard, so I'm going to take away those 3 feet, leaving me with 2 feet. I'm going to carry that 1 yard from those 3 feet. 1 and 5 is 6, plus 3 is 9 yards. That's 9 yards, 2 feet, 4 inches. Let's move on to subtraction. We might have something like 7 feet 9 inches minus 3 feet 4 inches. Just like any of our other operations, with other forms of numbers, we start on the right and work our way backwards to the left. We have 9 inches minus 4 inches is 5 inches. 7 feet minus 3 feet is 4 feet. Now, once again, it doesn't stay that simple. We can run into cases where we will have to carry. We might have 8 feet 2 inches minus 2 feet 11 inches. So here, 2 minus 11 can't be done, so I'm going to have to borrow from the 8 feet. That's 7 feet. Now, just like with fractions, I have to be careful here of what I borrowed. That 1 foot that I borrowed contains 12 inches. 2 plus 12 makes this now 14 inches. 14 minus 11 is 3 inches. 7 feet minus 2 feet is 5 feet. So that's 5 feet 3 inches. We can end up with other units involved again. We might have 7 yards, 1 foot, and it's 4 yards and 2 feet. Oh, when I go to subtract here, again, I start on the right, work my way back to the left. 5 feet minus, or 1 foot minus 2 feet can't be done. So I'm going to borrow from the 7 yards. That becomes 6 yards. Now remember that 1 yard contains 3 feet. So 1 plus 3 makes 4 feet now. And now I can subtract. 4 feet minus 2 feet is 2 feet. 6 yards minus 4 yards is 2 yards. So we get a difference of 2 yards and 2 feet. Let's go with a unit we're not so familiar with. Let's do 7 rods, 2 yards, minus 4 rods, 4 yards. But once again, 2 yards minus 4 yards can't be done. So we're going to have to borrow. So borrow from the 7 rods. That's going to be 6 rods. Remember, 1 rod is 5.5 yards. 5.5. So 2 plus 5.5, that's now 7.5 yards. 7.5 minus 3 is 3.5 yards. 6 minus 4 is now 2 rods. We might have our triple units. 8 yards, 1 foot, 3 inches, minus 2 yards, 2 feet, 9 inches. We will start on the right and work our way back to the left. We'll do 3 minus 9. Can't be done, so we're going to have to borrow from the 1 foot. It becomes 0 feet. Now that 1 foot contains 12 inches, so this is 15 inches now. 15 inches minus 9 inches is 6 inches. Next, we got 0 feet minus 2 feet can't be done, so we're going to borrow from the 8 yards. That becomes 7 yards now. That 1 yard that we borrowed is 3 feet, so this is now 3 feet. 3 feet minus 2 feet is 1 foot. 7 yards minus 2 yards is 5 yards. So we get a difference there of 5 yards, 1 foot, 6 inches. I'm going to have you guys try one of those in your notes here. We're going to do 7 yards, 0 feet, 8 inches, minus 3 yards, 2 feet, 11 inches. Give that one a shot. We'll go over it in a minute. So we start out 8 inches minus 11 inches can't be done. So we need to borrow. But there's no feet here. So we're going to have to borrow all the way from the 7 yards, making that 6 yards. That'll make this 3 feet. We're going to borrow from that 3 feet to make it 2 feet. That 1 foot we borrowed is 12 inches, so this becomes 20 inches. Now we can subtract. 20 minus 11 is 9 inches. 2 minus 2 is 0 feet. And 6 minus 3 is 3 yards. So that is 3 yards, 0 feet, 9 inches. Or just 3 yards and 9 inches if you want to leave out the feet completely. So now multiplication is a little bit trickier. If I want to multiply 2 measurements, like 3 feet, 6 inches, and 2 feet, 3 inches. We saw it with our mixed numbers and fractions. Not only would the 3 inches have to multiply the 6 inches, we'd also have to multiply the 3 feet. Well, 3 inches times 3 feet would be 9 inch feet. That actually is a unit, it's just not one that we use anymore. It's an outdated unit. More typically, if we're going to multiply 2 measurements, we would convert it into a single unit just to simplify the calculation. We might change it into all inches. So if we did that, we'd have to turn the 3 feet into inches. Think almost like turning the mixed numbers into improper fractions. It's 3 times 12, 36, plus the 6 inches we had makes this 42 inches. This is 2 times 12 is 24, plus the 3 inches we had is 27 inches. 42 inches times 27 inches is 1,134. Now, inches times inches, that's going to be inches squared, not just inches. Very important that we remember that's inches squared. We'll see why in a little bit here. The other option would be to turn it into all feet. Well, the easiest way to do that is to turn the inches into just a fraction of a foot. There are 12 inches in a foot, so 6 inches is 6/12 of a foot. So 3 feet 6 inches is 3 6/12 of a foot. 6/12, of course, reduces to 1/2, so it's 3 1/2. We do the same here. 2 foot 3 inches becomes 2 3/12 of a foot. 3/12 is 1/4. That's 2 1/4 feet. So we go ahead and multiply 3 1/2 times 2 1/4 gives us 7 7/8. Feet times feet, of course, is square feet. So why did I make such a big deal about that being square inches and square feet? Well, because if I tried to convert this, seven 7/8 square feet, put it over 1, put feet on bottom here, going into inches. 1 foot is 12 inches. So I'm doing 7 7/8 times 12. I get 94.5. That's nowhere near the 1,134. Well, why doesn't that conversion work? Well, because this is square feet and this was just feet. Technically, square feet, remember, is feet times feet. So I suppose you could say I canceled out one of them, but I'd have to do it again. That would cancel out the second foot, so I'd be multiplying by 12 another time. And you notice there it is. There's the 1,134 square inches. We're going to come back and look at this more in a couple of days as to how we do that conversion when it's square feet and square inches rather than just feet and inches. But for right now, the big thing I want you to remember is it is not just times 12 or divided by 12 anymore. Because it is square feet and square inches, that conversion has changed. Well, mostly what we're going to do is we're going to do a measurement times what we call a scalar. A scalar is a non-measured number. In fact, it's even simpler than that. It is just a count of something. How many of something we have. So there's really no units on it at all. So if we have 4 feet 8 inches times 7, this is saying I have pieces that are 4 feet 8 inches long. I need 7 of them. What's the total length that I need? Now, some would try to change this all into inches, multiply it out, then convert it back. You're adding a lot of extra steps, and every step is a chance for a mistake. Also, you're working with really huge numbers. We can do this without a calculator by working with it just the way it is. Starting on the right, working our way back to the left, just like we usually do. 7 times 8 inches is 56 inches. Now that is more than a foot. 1 foot would be 12 inches. Well, it's bigger than that. 2 feet would be 24 inches. It's bigger than that. 3 feet would be 36 inches. It's bigger than that. 4 feet would be 48 inches. Well, it's still bigger than that. 5 feet would be 60 inches. Well, that's too much. We're not bigger than that. So we're going to back down to 4 feet. It's 48 inches. And we're going to subtract off the 48 inches. 56 minus 48. We have 8 inches left, and then we're going to carry those 4 feet. Now we've got the 7 times 4 feet is 28 feet, plus the 4 that we carried. 28 plus 4 is 32 feet. So the total length of that would be 32 feet and 8 inches. Let's say I have pieces that are 7 feet 11 inches long, and I'm going to need 3 of them total. Same thing, I'll do 3 times 11 is 33 inches. Now let's count it up again. 1 foot would be 12 inches, bigger than that. 2 feet would be 24 inches, it's bigger than that. 3 feet would be 36 inches. Nope, that's too big. So we're going back down to that 2 feet, which was 24 inches. So you can see what we're doing here. We're going to carry 2 feet. And that 2 feet removes 24 inches from what we have. So 33 minus 24, there's 9 inches left after we carry the 2 feet. Now we do 3 times 7 feet is 21 feet, plus the 2 feet we carried. 21 plus 2 is 23 feet. That multiplies out to be 23 feet and 9 inches. Let's try this with our rods and yards. We have 2 rods, 4 yards. Let's go times 5. So we need 5 of them. 4 yards times 5 is 20 yards. This one won't be quite so simple, but let's count it up. 1 rod is 5.5 or 5.5 yards. 2, well, if I take 5.5 times 2, I'd get 11 yards. It's bigger than that. 3 times 5.5 would be 16.5. 20 yards is bigger than that. We tried 4 rods. 4 times 5.5 would be 22. Well, we don't have that many, so we're back down to 3. 3 rods was 16.5 yards. We'll subtract. 20 minus 16.5 is 3.5 yards, and we'll carry those 3 rods. Now we got 5 times 2 rods is 10 rods, plus the 3 we carried. 13 rods, 3.5 yards. Or we might have 4 yards, 2 feet, 10 inches, multiplied by, 6 is going to be clumsy. Let's say we need 8 of those. 8 times 10 inches is 80 inches. Well, again, let's look at our feet. 1 foot, 12 inches. 2 feet, 24 inches. We're still bigger than that. 3 feet is 36 inches. We're still bigger than that. 4 feet is 48 inches. 80 is still bigger than that. 5 feet is 60 inches. 80 is still bigger than that. 6 feet is 72. 80 is still bigger than that. 7 feet would be 84. Okay, we passed it. We're back down to 6 feet. 6 times 12 was 72 inches. 80 minus 72 is 8 inches. Carry our 6 feet. Now we multiply there. 8 times 2 is 16 feet, plus the 6 we carried. That is 22 feet. Now again, let's look at our yards. 3 feet would be 1 yard. 2 yards would be 6 feet. Oh, we're still bigger than that. 3 yards would be 9 feet. 4 yards would be 12 feet. 5 yards would be 15 feet. Well, 22 is still bigger than that. 6 yards is 18. 7 yards is 21. 8 yards is 24. We finally passed. So we're going back down to that 7 yards. That 7 yards, 21 feet. So we subtract 22 minus 21, leaves us with 1 foot, and we'll carry that 7 yards. Now we have 8 times 4 yards is 32 yards, plus the 7 that was carried. 32 plus 7 is 39 yards. So that's 39 yards, 1 foot 8 inches. So our last operation that we're going to work on today is division. If you recall, division is the one operation that we start on the right and we work our way back to the left. because when we divide, remember we want to take out those large chunks first. For me, it's a lot easier to set it up as long division like this. 4 goes into 29 feet. Well, that would be 7 times. That'd be 7 feet. 7 feet times 4 is 28 feet. We subtract, we've got 1 foot left over. 29 minus 28 is 1 foot. Now, before I can bring down my 8 inches, I have to convert my 1 foot into inches. Well, that's 12 inches. 8 inches plus 12 inches is 20 inches. So I take that now, divided by my 4, I get 5 inches exactly, and that's it. There's nothing left over. I might have 31 feet 6 inches. Now I divide that into 7 equal pieces. Well, 7 goes into 31 4 times. That's 4 feet. 4 feet times 7 is 28 feet. We subtract 31 minus 28. There's 3 feet left over. Now, once again, inches. 3 feet is 36 inches. Now I can bring down my 6 inches. 3 plus 36 is 42 inches. And now when I divide, 42 divided by 7 is 6 inches exactly, so there's nothing left over. We might have 53 feet 9 inches divided by 6. 6 goes into 53 8 times. 8 feet times 6 is 48 feet. So here we're going to have 53 minus 48 is 5 feet left over. Before I can bring down the 9, I have to convert the 5 feet into inches. 5 feet is 60 inches. 5 times 12 is 60. I'll bring down my 9 inches. I now have 69 inches. I go to divide here. 69 divided by 6 is 11 with some left over. So what I want to do here is, since there's no other next unit to go to, I want to write this as a fractional amount of inches. The easiest way to do that is write this as 69 over 6 and then reduce the fraction. First thing I'll notice is 6 goes into 69 11 times. 6 times 11 would be 66, so there's 3 6 left over. Well, 3 6, both of those can divide by 3, is just 1/2. So that is 11 1/2. That's exactly what goes here, is 11 1/2 inches. So 8 feet, 11 1/2 inches. Let's say I have 17 yards, 2 feet, 9 inches. And I'm going to divide that into 6 equal pieces here. 17 divided by 6 is 2 yards. 2 times 6 is 12 yards. I subtract 17 minus 6, or 17 minus 12. I'm left with 5 yards. Before I can bring down my feet, I have to convert that 5 yards into feet. 5 times 3 is 15 feet. I bring down the 2 feet, that is 17 feet. 6 goes into 17 twice again. This is 2 feet this time. 2 times 6 is still 12 feet. I subtract, I have 5 feet left over. Before I can bring down the 9 inches, I have to convert that 5 feet into inches. 5 times 12 is 60 inches. Bring down the 9 inches, that is now 69 inches. Well, this is the exact calculation we just did up above. I put that 69 over 6, reduce that fraction, you get 11 1/2 inches. In the metric system, it's a lot simpler. The metric system, there is no need for dual units. we would never list something as 2 meters and 68 centimeters. Instead, because of the easy conversion between units, we would list this as 2.68 meters or 268 centimeters. Very neat and clean, and it's all right there. No need for dual units. Because of that, when we go to do operations in the metric system, all we have to do is make sure that the two numbers we're adding have the same units. If I have 3.7 meters plus 180 centimeters, I either have to turn this one into centimeters or this one into meters. Well, how do I know which one? Well, I look at what I want my answer to be. If this asks for the answer over here to be in meters, well, then I'm going to change them both to meters. So the 3.7 meters will stay as it is. 180 centimeters will become 1.8 meters, and then we'll add 3.7 plus 1.8 is 5.5 meters. So in the metric system, that is all it comes down to, is getting the units into the same unit and whatever unit is you desire your answer to be. If I am multiplying 4.3 meters times 240 centimeters, I might look and see that I want my answer here to be in centimeters squared. Well, because that's centimeters squared, that means it has to be centimeters times centimeters. So this is going to get changed to 430 centimeters instead of 4.3 meters. This will be 240 centimeters. So 430 times 240 gives us 103,200 centimeters squared. The other side of that is that would only be 10.32 meters squared. Notice moving the decimal to 2 spots does not work for this to convert it to meters squared, because it's not centimeters and meters, it's centimeters squared going into meters squared. Again, we'll go over that actual conversion more in a couple of classes. For right now, just be aware that centimeters squared and meters squared are very different units than just regular centimeters and regular meters. So for right now, we're going to give you homework out of that packet again from yesterday. We're going to be using that for a few days yet. Page 237, 13 through 24. So that's just the next section on the first page. And then page 265, it's just the next section on that page as well, 15 through 22. So we have about 14 minutes here left. I'll let you have that time to start homework if you like. I'll be on the network here to answer any questions. Otherwise,